And while you are still standing, let us recite our opening affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament. Service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship. For these high purposes, we unite in worship. Thank you. Today's themes are about justice, law, and order. Ta-dum! I see I'm not the only one that used to watch cop shows. I've selected this piece, written by Cynthia Landrum, to read before lighting the chalice. It's titled Love and Justice. A flame rises from the flaming chalice, a symbol of Unitarian Universalist faith. Flame of our faith, call us into the community of love and justice this morning and every morning. Today's story will be read by Linda Cook-Katz. Our first choice was to read a story from Public Defenders in Action. But we decided to go with the kindler, gentler Penny instead of the hard-boiled Richard Manning.
Thank you, Mr. Cates. You know, one of my favorite things in our services is when we get to hear a story for all ages, and it's an excuse for all of us to be young again and laugh. But when I went on Amazon and Googled, which is what I usually do when I'm trying to find something, and tried to find a children's book about public defenders, I came up with 0. But you know what? One of our members, Sharon Baker, sent me this story, and I was so puzzled. She sent it by email, and so I asked her, where did you get that? It's called Penny the Public Defender. And it is, she said she went online. It's written by ChatGPT, and I have no idea what that is, at the request of Sharon Baker. And so there she is. Thank you, Sharon Baker, for this story. In the middle of a busy city, there was a woman named Penny. She wore a bright blue blazer, carried a big bag full of papers, and always had a nice smile. Penny was a public defender. What's a public defender? Asked her neighbor's daughter, Maya. Penny knelt down and smiled. I'm a lawyer who helps people who don't have money to pay for help. Everyone deserves someone to stand up for them. One day, a boy named Leo was walking his puppy Max when Max ran into the bakery. Oh, a tray of cookies fell and someone shouted, "That boy did it." Leo looked scared. "It wasn't me. My dog Max just got excited by the smell." The police came and said Leo might have to go to court to explain what happened. Leo was scared. "It wasn't me. It wasn't me. My dog Max just got excited by the smell." So Leo then whispered to his mom, "I'm just a kid." And then that's when Penny showed up. "Hi, Leo. I will be your lawyer," Penny said kindly. "I will help the judge understand your side of the story. That's what public defenders do." So, in the courtroom, Penny asked gentle questions and helped Leo tell the truth. "Leo didn't mean to cause trouble," she said. "He was walking his dog, and Max, who is just a puppy, suddenly got too excited." The judge nodded. "Oh, thank you, Mrs. Penny. I see now that it was really just an accident." He looked at Leo and smiled. "Next time, young man, keep a tighter hold on your dog." Leo grinned. "Yes, Your Honor, I will. Outside, Leo hugged Penny, the public defender. "Thank you for helping me." "You're welcome," said Penny. "That's what I'm here for, to help people be heard and be treated fairly." From that day on, Leo told everyone he saw, "Penny is a public defender. She defends people in public, and she helps make things right."
No copyright problems there. At this time in our service, we recognize the joys and concerns of the community. Please come forward, put a lighted candle in the sand bowl, speak into the microphone, state your name, and talk to us.
My name is Brian. Excuse me, Brian. My wife Joanne has been in the hospital for weeks. She was admitted with congestive heart failure, but after her heart was under control, she remained weak, and she is now in rehab at BSA and is getting stronger every day. I'm really pleased to see how well she can do all these physical activities now. She's going to go home on Saturday. I don't know whether she'll be able to come to UU next week or not, but I'm sure she'll be back to the crowd before we know it.
I'm Sharon Baker, and my joy is that this morning I brought my 2 great-grandchildren with me. They're in the children's area right now, and they usually go to Trinity Fellowship. So I'm really anxious to have a conversation with them after service to see what they thought.
I'm Claudia. And I have two concerns. And I lost another friend this week. I think it's a function of my age that I keep losing friends, and it keeps making me remember the past and to be much more appreciative of the present. Also, I want to express my very serious concern about what's going on in this country. If you aren't aware that we're as close to losing democracy as we ever have been in our 249-year history, then you need to be aware of that. If you haven't written a letter, made a phone call, written an email to your legislator to let them know that you do believe in the Constitution, you do believe in the rule of law, you need to do so. We're at that point where the courts are the last bastion against losing our democracy. And they are taking a lot of heat. One was even arrested in the parking lot of her courthouse this week. We must do something to help the courts fight this last line of defense. So please take the time to do something to protect the democracy that we all appreciate and live in.
My name is Eric Gonzalez, and to expand upon what Claudia was saying, I've also been very concerned, as I'm sure many of you have been, about the current state of American democracy. If you're looking for nonpartisan ways to get involved, in addition to writing letters, in addition to speaking with local representatives, there are multiple protests that are being planned that have been ongoing. I think the next one is going to be May 1st? Yes, the 1st? Thursday, May 1st. I unfortunately don't have a link for that, but please just check Facebook.
34th and Bell at 5 p.m.
34th and Bell at 5 p.m. Perfect. Thank you, Claudia. In addition, if you're looking for a way to just get more politically involved, the Panhandle Democrats have their meeting on the 28th, which is Monday at 6 p.m. Oh, and happy hour this evening at 5 at, what, you said Hummers? At Hummers. So please, partisan, nonpartisan, whatever it is, if you're not involved already in some way, please be sure to look into it. And from out of town, leader of the Progressive Caucus, guy in his 30s, Texas Progressive Caucus will be here on the 28th. That'll be at Chalice Abbey at 6 p.m. Thanks.
And now I will light one final candle for all the joys and concerns not shared, but still felt deeply in our hearts.
Please give me your redemption song. I need one real bad. No one seems to write them now that John and Bob are dead. All I know is
Thank you for that selection. That was wonderful. So, Linda will come up again to give you today's reading, a poem by Maya Angelou titled Equality.
Thank you, Mr. Cates.
Again to Mr. Cates.
Title of the poem is Equality. Maya Angelou is one of my favorite poets. You declare you see me dimly through glass which will not shine, though I stand before you boldly, trim in rank and marking time. You do own to hear me faintly as a whisper out of range, while in fact my drums beat out the message and the rhythms never change. Equality, and I will be free. Equality, and I will be free. You announce my ways are wanton, that I fly from man to man, but if I'm just a shadow to you, could you ever understand? We have lived a painful history. We know the shameful past, but I keep on marching forward, and you slouch on coming last. I say, equality, and I will be free. Just equality, and I will be free. Do take the blinders from your vision, take the padding from your ears, and confess you've heard me crying, and admit you have seen my tears. Hear the tempo so compelling, hear the blood throb in my veins. Yes, my drums are beating nightly, and the rhythms never change. Equality, and I will be free. Equality, I will be free.
Thank you, Mrs. Cates. Okay. As a segue to our speaker today, here are two prayers for ethical integrity and justice, written specifically for lawyers by the Family Policy Institute of Washington. May I always strive to uphold the highest ethical standards, protecting the rights of my clients and ensuring a just outcome. And grant me the courage to stand for what is right, even when it is unpopular or difficult, always seeking justice and fairness for all. Let's take a moment of silence to reflect on ethics and justice. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Jason Howell. Jason Howell is the Chief Public Defender for Potter and Armstrong counties. He was born and raised here in the Texas Panhandle and is a third-generation graduate of West Texas A&M University. After college, he taught for 15 years, coaching multiple sports during that time. He received a master's degree from the University of Houston in Spanish. He then attended South Texas College of Law, graduating in 2012 and passing the bar that same year. He practiced criminal defense and personal injury law before joining the Galveston County Criminal DA's office. In 2015, Jason and his family moved back to the Panhandle, where he worked for the 47th District Court DA's office as a felony trial attorney. While at the DA's office, he served as a mentor to young attorneys and started both veterans treatment and mental health treatment programs. Jason accepted the role of Chief Public Defender for Potter and Armstrong counties in 2022 in order to continue serving the citizens in a different capacity. When he's not working, which he seems to do most of the time, he enjoys spending time with his family, playing sports, and doing all things fishing and outdoors. Mr. Howell. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for having me today. Claudia reached out a while back asking some questions about my office, having some concerns. And so we got together and she decided that your fellowship needed to know about my office and what we're doing. Thank you again for having me today. I did grow up in the Texas Panhandle. I am a I'm an outside of White Deer native. I grew up on a pig farm 5 miles from town. My beautiful wife, Lindy, she grew up over in Pampa. So we are Texas Panhandle natives. I have always been a public servant. My family has a long legacy of public service. My grandmother, my mom, both teachers and counselors for years and years. My dad, he was a literal ditch digger, backhoe operator, but he wound up becoming county commissioner over there in Carson County. So while he is a politician, he is not the boss hog type of politician, if you will. He, even though he's nearly 70, or he's actually over 70 now, he still runs the equipment himself. He gets out there and does fire breaks, even though I tell him, Dad, you're too old to do that. And he looks at me and says, I'm a public servant, and that's my duty. So I take that on as a mantra myself. Several years ago, Judge Doug Woodburn, Alfonso Vaughn, several defense attorneys locally, other judges and commissioners wanted to get an idea of what's going on in criminal defense here in the Potter and Armstrong area. So they commissioned what was called the Sixth Amendment Study. What they did is they had a group come in, work out at the jail, find statistics, talk to both prisoners as well as guards. And what they determined is that, especially on the misdemeanor level, people were just getting herded through without proper representation. And most of those people that are in jail, of course, as we know, are indigent because they can't afford bond. So even though they had some court-appointed attorneys, they were doing a whole lot of wholesale pro se pleas. Well, the common citizen doesn't necessarily understand what that time-served assault family violence case is going to do to their permanent record. They don't understand what the long-term consequences of that DWI conviction are going to be. They don't understand that, just plead to a time served so you can get out of jail on that theft is going to mess up their job opportunities for the rest of their life. There was a lot of that was going on, not just here in Amarillo, but also around the whole Texas Panhandle. And I'll bring up some of those statistics here in just a little bit. But that Sixth Amendment study was very critical of the state of criminal defense here in Amarillo especially, and in Potter County specifically. So for years, they decided to try to put together a public defender office. We have some great court-appointed attorneys. We really do. They work hard. They treat their clients that are on the court-appointed list just like they do their paid clients. The only difference is maybe not quite as much hand-holding. But for the most part, everybody wants to do a good job. Now, I will say this, there are some that are either overworked, they don't understand what they're doing, unfortunately, or they don't necessarily do a great job for those clients. They treat it as a meet 'em and plead 'em type thing, which That's why my office came into existence, is because they did not want that bailiff to show up to court and have to introduce the attorney to their client. And that was going on quite a bit. They tried for years to get a public defender office started, and it never worked. Well, I happened to be in Judge Woodburn's office one day, and he had just gotten turned down again by the commissioners here in Potter County. And so he was not real happy. But I asked him, I said, what is the problem that you're trying to fix? And he said, we just don't have enough defense attorneys here in the area that are willing to do indigent criminal defense. And I'm not going to blow smoke. Indigent criminal defense is very, very tough. You have some clients who won't talk to you. You have some clients who definitely have a different value system than you. But all we can do is give them the opportunity to succeed. And that's where I came in, and we're patient. So what Judge Woodburn said, how can we get attorneys here to the Panhandle? If y'all look around the town, we're losing out on engineers. We're losing out on doctors. We're losing out on nurses. And absolutely, we're losing out on attorneys. We're not bringing in new blood. Unfortunately, it's hard to get the younger generation to move out here to Amarillo, Texas. So whenever Judge Woodburn and I were discussing it, I said, let's come up with an attorney apprentice program. There is nothing like that exists that I'm aware of around the nation. I said, you said your problem is we don't have enough attorneys. Well, let's try to address the situation. That's how you get grant funding. That's how you get people on board, is a novel concept. Well, we went to this committee meeting. 2 weeks later, the commissioners approved it. TIDC funded a 4-year grant to cover half of the entire public defender office and MAC budget. And MAC is the Managed Assigned Counsel. That's to help out the court-appointed attorneys that don't work for the public defender office. So back in October of 2021, we did receive a 4-year grant at 50% to run the public defender office and the MAC. We started off, they hired me in March of 22, so I've literally just been here 3 years. And we started off as Potter and Armstrong County. That's it. Well, I don't necessarily trust the government, even though I work for the government. And so I did not know what our commissioners were going to do. Y'all have been around Amarillo long enough that depending on which way the wind blows depends on whether they're going to fund something or not. So I knew that we only had a 4-year 50% grant, and I wanted to make sure that we had long-term survivability. So what I did, I started off, I was the chief. We had one paraprofessional, one mental health worker, and 5 attorneys. So that was the entire office, and I didn't even start hiring until June of 2022. So even my employees have not been here 3 years. But one of the first things I set about doing was jail work. What gives the residents, the taxpayers, and the commissioners of Potter County the biggest bang for their buck? Well, it's something called CAFA, Counsel at First Appearance. Even before I started taking cases, I had somebody at the jail 365 days a year. We have an attorney there every single day. I trained our attorneys in mental health so they can pick up on signs of issues. But there is somebody there, an attorney, to represent people that get arrested in the worst time in their life. A lot of them are first-time offenders. They don't understand the system. So what we do is we help them fill out a financial form. We do a little mental health check. We check and see if they're a veteran. What are they charged with? We give them the range of punishment. And then we get to what is their life like. And then we represent them in front of that magistrate. So that way we can get them a reasonable bond, not only just for the charge itself, but is this person going to have surgery next week? Is that an expense that Potter County citizens should have to pay for? Is this person going to lose their job? Are they going to be a caretaker? And we do our best to help that magistrate understand and set a reasonable bond. I will say this, you're hearing all about jail overcrowding now. Well, in the first year that we did this, we got the jail population to lower than it was before COVID. Things have changed, and there's a lot of reasons, and I'll talk to you all about that after service if you want to. But now we're back to jail overcrowding. Every other jail that I work in, we have reduced their population. But that was the biggest bang for the buck. And in the first year of my office being there, we saved Potter County over $1 million in jail costs alone. There's a lot of what we do that don't show up in a budget. It's easy to see a check going out the door. It's hard to see those savings. So what I did is I wanted to ensure long-term survivability. You know who the biggest fan of our office was in that first couple of years? It was Captain Steve White, who ran the jail at Potter County. He got to see what we were doing out there on a daily basis. He didn't call the DA's office. He didn't call law enforcement. Whenever there was an issue at the jail, he called me. Jason, we've got a mental health case out here we really need you to look at. I'd have somebody out there. I'd have one of my mental health people out there. Jason, this person's been in for 3 weeks. It's a misdemeanor case, and they still don't have an attorney. I had somebody there to handle the situation. We made ourselves available to solve the problems that nobody really had an interest in solving. I believe Claudia has been there at Commissioner's Court before where the DA's office has made the statement, we're not worried about the jail. That's not our problem. Well, I didn't look at it that way. I've been on both sides. I've been a prosecutor. You know what the prosecutor's duty is? To do justice. I took that seriously whenever I was a prosecutor. I wanted to do justice. Sometimes, you know what? That is a life sentence. If the officers do it right, if the prosecutor does it right, if the defense attorney does their job the right way and the judge does their job the right way, and the jury comes back and says that is what this is worth, then the system worked. I had some life sentences as a prosecutor, but I also had the most dismissals. Because my job was to do justice, not to get a conviction. That's part of why I started the Veterans Court. It's part of why I started the Mental Health Court. It's because I was seeing those issues and I did not want to lock somebody up that could get treatment. So I took that, I ran those courts by myself for 6 years. We didn't even have a judge. I was the judge, the prosecutor, and half the time the defense attorney too. But anyway, that's part of why they made me the first chief here at the Panhandle Area Public Defender Office. But what I did is I went around to the small counties. There was a grant out there that was called an improvement grant through the Texas Indigent Defense Commission. That's who funds me, or who partially funds me. If you have a rural area county as part of your public defender office, then the formula changes. Instead of a 4-year 50% grant, you can have a 2/3 grant with no limit on the number of years. So I busted my tail and I got in every small county that I could and showed them, had them call Captain White at the jail, had them call the judges here locally. And we now have 6 counties. We have Hereford, we have Deaf Smith, we have Oldham, we have Potter, we have Moore County, Dumas, then we have Armstrong and Carson. So we have that little line across the Panhandle. Eventually they would love for us to take over the whole Panhandle from Canyon North. That's a 10-year project, but because we are losing so many attorneys, you know, we've got to figure out a way to replace them. As part of that expansion plan, I now have 3 offices. I have the Hereford office, I have an office in Dumas, and I have an office here in Amarillo. Instead of 1 chief, 1 paralegal, 1 mental health, and 5 attorneys, as of October of this year, we will have chief, first assistant, then we have 6 support staff, many of whom are bilingual. to help out our clients. We have 4 full-time mental health and social workers on our staff. We have 3 investigators, and I have brought 22 new attorneys to the Texas Panhandle. That was a huge part of what they wanted me to do, and I have fought. I have changed the way we recruit. I recruit nationwide. I have attorneys from Montana. I have attorneys from Florida. I have attorneys from Oklahoma, from Nebraska, as well as all over the state of Texas. I want to bring in diversity to the Texas Panhandle. Not just, racial, sexual, but also a diversity of ideas. Where do people come from? What can we do better here in the Texas Panhandle? And we do have one of the most diverse offices in the Texas Panhandle. But anyway, we've grown, and now we have permanent funding where 2/3 of our budget is covered by the Texas Indigent Defense Commission, and the other third is split up amongst the counties. So what we do is based on your caseload. That determines how much you contribute to our budget. Everybody in my office is a Potter County employee. However, I have stationed them in those other offices. I want Dumas to feel like they have the Dumas Public Defender Office. Yeah, they may be Potter County employees, but they are members of that community. Hereford, Deaf Smith, they are, those attorneys, those mental health staff, those paralegals are members of their community. And we're making some big changes. We actually were just mentioned in the New York Times for our work over in Hereford. The year before our office started over there, they had 6 court-appointed misdemeanor cases. 6. Our first year there, we took over 200. That tells you how many people were shoved through the system. And we're talking about small counties. It's not just an Amarillo problem. It is around the Texas Panhandle problem. And we're aiming to solve that. 3 weeks ago, we partnered with the Hereford Police Department, the Deaf Smith County Sheriff's Department, the constables, the Texas Panhandle Centers, and our office all partnered to develop what's called a critical intervention team. Instead of arresting people who are in a mental health crisis and taking them out to the Deaf Smith County Jail, now we have a system where one of our mental health caseworkers goes, or the TPC caseworkers goes. We de-escalate that situation and either get them to the pavilion or get them to a safe environment rather than taking them to the Deaf Smith County Jail. If you do look up that New York Times article, Judge Wagner told me, and it actually kind of surprised me, before our office came in, they were averaging 100 inmates a day. Since our office has come in, it is down to 60. In Carson County, they now have more out-of-county inmates than they do Carson County inmates because we've gotten their jail population so low. Now, we do not just run people through. We believe in holistic defense. What that means is we try to treat the person, not just the case. Now, don't get me wrong. We got some great trial attorneys. We've had multiple not guilties. But we don't want to see that person back. We try to work with them. Is this a job situation? Is this a housing situation? Is this a mental health situation? Is this a drug addiction situation? We offer them the help. We help people get birth certificates. We help people get driver's licenses. Over in Hereford, actually out of Dumas, we started the Refugee Project. It's working with the prosecutor. He was actually happy to have us after a year there, learning what we do. And so we work with him as well as a philanthropic organization here in Amarillo to do a refugee project. Those answer whether they have a criminal case or not. We try to help our people stay out of the system. We're a preventative measure. We're an insurance policy to try to help not only the taxpayers but the people themselves not come into contact with the criminal justice system. I know I need to be wrapping it up, so let's talk a little bit about some of our struggles. It is very, very tough working here whenever nobody really wants to fund criminal activity. I've been a victim of crime. I've had things stolen from me. It's hard for the common citizen to say, yes, I want to pay for the best possible defense for a person accused of a crime. That is until you look around and see, hey, I've got a cousin that has some issues. He's in with a bad crowd. Or my sister, she's in a relationship that's violent, and finally she had enough courage to stand up for herself, and now she's charged with assault. Or that person who is actually innocent of a crime. Since we've been here, we have walked multiple people, and it has taken months and months and lots of taxpayer dollars of that person being in jail, but we've actually proven them innocent. It's scary. If you are an attorney, the scariest client you'll have is the one that you know is innocent. That is a struggle. We deal with we have struggles with the DA's offices. They don't necessarily believe it's their job to hurry things through. Our clients want to get out of jail, or they want their trial. That is a big struggle that we have, is just getting them to trial. I am specially set because I complained. I filed a motion for speedy trial, and the judge gave me a trial date, August of 2026, because they've been specially set up through then. So my client is going to have to wait in the Potter County Jail till August of 2026 before we're given a trial. Multiple clients like that. It is a sad situation. What is the answer? Well, there's multiple causes. There's no one right answer. But what you can do to help us out is take a look at what the judges are doing. Take a look at what the DA's doing, county attorney's doing. Take a look at what the commissioners are funding, and use your power at the ballot box. One of the best judges I ever had was down in Galveston. He told me, Jason, one day you may be a judge, and I want to tell you, the best merit or the best measure of your judgeship is do both attorneys waive the right to a jury and go to you for guilt, innocence, and punishment. It's because they trust your decision making. And if they're willing to waive a jury and let you decide, that tells you you're doing the right thing. Unfortunately, I will not waive a jury here in Potter County because you see a lot of judges running as tough on crime. Well, that's an instant bias, in my opinion. And I fight that every day. My lawyers fight that every day. You can hold them accountable. We had a not guilty back in December on a murder case. I just wanted to do a little bit of follow-up. Do you know how much investigation has been done by APD or by the DA's office since that not guilty? You can guess it. Absolutely nothing. Even though the citizens told both of those that law enforcement agency and the DA's office, you got it wrong, try again, nothing's been done. Where you can come in and help is use your power as taxpayers and your power as voters to help us out. Now, there are some really good DAs. I'm not going to say everybody's corrupt or lazy or anything else. There are some people who want to get it right. But they don't necessarily do it every time. My office has a bunch of young attorneys. We have a bunch of older attorneys. I brought in people that have 40 years of experience, and I brought in people that are babies. It's a great mix. We are on the second floor of the Santa Fe building. Feel free to come by anytime. Look and see what we do. I have set my office up, both the Hereford office, Dumas office, and Amarillo offices. I want people who are indigent criminal defendants to feel like they have a law firm representing them. And that's the way I've set it up. Now, don't get me wrong. I've had to beg, borrow, steal, everything that I could to make it look that way. But But I told y'all my dad's a public servant. He's a county commissioner. I did do it on the cheap to save everybody money. But I want our clients to come in and know this is not a public pretender. This is a law firm that wants me to get better. They're going to defend me on the case, and they're going to help me fix the problems that I have, or at least give me the chance to fix those problems. We do also help out other court-appointed attorneys in the area to try to help them bolster their defense as well. But thank you for your time. Thank you for having me. If y'all have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And again, we are on the second floor of the Santa Fe building. And our website is papdmac.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, page. Now is the time for our financial offering. Donations can be made directly into the bowls being passed around, online through our website, or by mail. As a self-funded congregation, we do always need money, but we also need volunteers and social justice advocates and friendly smiles and diversity. So if you are ever unable to donate, you are still always welcome here, no questions asked. We are grateful for anything you feel able and willing to give. So, announcements, events, and activities. These are a list of our recurring activities, and take a minute to read through this list. Most of them are also printed in your order of service, which we don't have this week, but usually it's there. We're going to need another page pretty soon. Are there any special announcements? Then here are our upcoming speakers, and these are also available in our newsletter. So, before I extinguish the challenge, let me read a little piece titled After by Max Coutts. After the words, a quiet. After the songs, a silence. After the crowd, only the memory recalls the gathering. Peace and justice have need of you after the words, the music, and the gathering. God grant you the depth for dedication to justice. God grant you the will to be an apostle of peace. And please stand for our closing hymn and remain standing for our closing words.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the land, speaking life, the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
May the fellowship this hour touch and move our lives until we come again together. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it.